two, there's already no you.
Already NotTwo.com.
So what we're talking about, what we did talk about yesterday, what we're talking about today, that this is it and isn't simultaneously. Because what we're talking about isn't a thing, that there are real things, it's part of a dreamt reality. So all there is what seems to appear. And it's appearing already. So it's not about becoming or whatsoever. It's really a very simple sharing. It's so easy, so simple, so obvious, and yet it seems like it's constantly overlooked. Because whatever that is arising is complete as it is. It is totality. There's only totality. You can use different words for it. The words has no importance whatsoever. You can use it totality. You can use it. You can call it oneness, wholeness, unconditional love. You can call it broodje or pita. It has no importance because it's not about the right wording, and it's something which cannot be understood. That there are real things and things can be understood is part of a dreamt reality. So what is shared here today is unknowing, is unknowable. You will never know what this is. It's impossible. So every attempt to talk about this is it and isn't it simultaneously, one could say is a failure because you really cannot describe what is indescribable. And yet, it's very obvious at the same time, because the simple sharing, what is shared here today, is just what's already apparently happening. And there's nothing else. So what's apparently happening doesn't happen by you, it doesn't happen for you, it's just naturally already happening, apparently. It's just this, sitting in a room, voices or sounds seems to naturally, apparently, happening, breathing, listening. That's it. That's what's longed for. And there's a difference, it seems, between wanting and longing. Because in no way the individual wants this. Because seeing that this is freedom, I like the word freedom, because everything is already free to arise or to appear or whatever you want to call it. So in that sense, or in that way, I like the word freedom. But it's impossible that the individual really wants to see freedom, because seeing that this is absolute freedom means the end of you. So when there is the sense of being someone, and there's nothing right with it, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just what seems to apparently happening, though it doesn't happen. But seeing that this is all there is, seeing that this is absolute freedom, means the end of you. So you will never see that this is absolute freedom, because there is already no you. So in that way, the whole seeking for what is, or the whole seeking for absolute freedom, is utterly futile, because all there is already, it doesn't become free, it doesn't become freedom. No, it's already free. Freedom in that way is already all there is. So seeking will never ever lead to a finding, because there is nothing missing, there is nothing to find. This is it, exactly as it is, no matter how it is. And that's why there seems to be a difference between longing and wanting. Because all the individual really wants is to arrive somewhere where it will feel worthy enough, where it will feel good enough, and it must be, if possible, everlasting, where I will be free of pain, free of suffering, where there's no sadness, where there's no anger, where there's only happy, happy, joy, joy. And that will never be the case. So that's why I'm saying that it's impossible for the individual that it wants this. Because what we're talking about is everything. And everything is everything. So everything is free to arise without any resistance to it. That's the natural reality, what we're talking about today. So if there is, or if her subtitling again, if there are questions, we can shine a light on that and talk about that. You want to add something?
No, not for me.
No? Okay. Sorry.
See what?
And maybe I can add, there is a natural longing to be free, so to speak. But it's also what the individual fears the most. So there can be a resonance to the sharing, but there can also be resistance, and fear also may arise. Because seeing that this is it means literally the end of you, and seeing that there never was a you. So in that way, liberation will never happen, nor did it happen to anyone. So that's the longing and the fear simultaneously. Doris, you lost your enlightenment, it seems. It passed on to Oliver.
She sopped it all up. I took one of your week's liver rolls.
You see how easily you can lose your enlightenment again? It's such a hard job to maintain it. In a way, it's really funny because people run around the whole world seeking for everlasting fulfillment, seeking for a particular something, and yet this is it. This is it, what's longed for. It's crazy somehow that people are looking the whole world around, not that there is a real world, but in simple terms, for just this. There's nothing else. There is just nothing else. questions about enlightenment.
This separation is so strong. I mean, for most people, I knew still some Anführungsstrichen normal people which don't know anything, which don't know anything, and sometimes they tell me their problems, and yeah, I really can see it's just because it's me, because of separation, and it's not possible to give them a glimpse that it's just not real. It's the separation is so strong. I mean, even for me, I still feel separated. Yeah, it seems that. Yeah, and even if I sometimes maybe feel like not separated, but it always comes back. It's so strong.
Yeah. It's very convincing, it seems, for most human beings. And also what seems to happen within the dream of me, which is different to this setting, so to speak, if you like. Because everyone, not that there is anyone, but I mean every human being constantly is giving energy to a dreamt reality. Constantly. What keeps the dream going? Because there's that constant feeding to that dreamt reality. Because automatically, when there's this sense of being someone, and again, there's nothing right nor something wrong with it, it's just as it is, so to speak. But automatically they are confirming that you are someone as well. And they are saying, without these words, that you have free will and choice as well. And there's constantly, the me is constantly open for business to make deals with each other. That's what I mean. The individual is constantly giving energy to a dreamt reality. And what is different to this kind of setting, not by choice, because there's no one here, there's just no one here. But what seems to apparently happen in this kind of setting, there is no feeding, nor is there any recognition that there is such a thing as an individual. So there's no giving energy to a dreamt reality. So in that way, this is starvation, one could say, which is just a story for the individual. Because there is no recognition in any way that there is somebody sitting here in this room.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add in a way, well, what we're really saying actually is that there's already no one there. There's already no one there. So however strong this apparently separate experience or feeling like a separate individual seems to be, what we're saying is it's an illusion. It's just an illusion. It's an energetic, you could say, embodied illusion of there being somebody sat there. But it's already not real. There is no one already sitting there. There is no one. So this can't be, this is not going to happen. This is not going to, you're not going to go from feeling separate to not feeling separate. Because what we're saying here is there is already no separation. Already. So this is the amazing thing. And like, you're right, this description of feeling separate is heard, and it seems to feel so strong when it's apparently happening. But in the end, so to speak, it's just revealed that it never happened. It never happened. This experience you speak of feeling separate, being so strong, is actually not happening right now. It's never happening. It's a dream. It's a complete and utter dream. It's dreamt by no one, for no reason at all. And it's not even actually dreamt. There's not even an actual dream of being separate from this. Separation is impossible. Energetically, it's impossible. All there is wholeness. So me feeling separate is actually impossible, and it's already not the case. And that's all we're pointing out here, is that there is already no one sat there. There is already just what appears to be happening. So this isn't about you realizing you're not separate. It's about you could say it's about, well, it's not about anything, but you could say it's about wholeness, recognizing itself as whole and complete, and that separation is an illusory reality that never happens. There is already no one sat there. No matter how strong this feels, it is an illusion. But either you feel like an individual or you don't. So when you feel like an individual, it's real. It feels exclusively real. And so what we're talking about is not a transition from feeling real to not feeling real. This is an exposure that feeling real is not real. It's not even happening. It doesn't exist. There's just what seems to be happening, and there's no one in it already. So it doesn't matter how strong separation feels. It's a dream. It's not strong at all, actually. It doesn't exist. So it's not even like, this doesn't entertain any of the sort of, it hears it, but actually the only compassion is illuminating that it simply doesn't exist. It's not even that, oh yeah, that's really strong, or that's really bad, or you've got a stronger me than that person, or this is the me is creating the problems. I feel separate, that's why I'm unhappy. Well, yeah, you could say that's sort of partly true in a way, but it's a dream. It's a dream. It's a dream. There is no one who's separate, and there is no one who's unhappy. There's just what seems to happen. My pleasure. Yeah, so really what we're talking about actually is not, it's the other way around in this way, what we're saying. It's not about you getting anything. So all there is wholeness, and there's no one there. But when there seems to be this apparent overlay of there being someone there, which is illusory anyway, there seems to be sort of a reaching and a seeking for wholeness again, or for something else, that it doesn't really know what it is, but it's just looking for something else. And so it thinks the resolution is in finding. And so the apparently separate individual thinks that separation is going to end by finding the end of separation, or wholeness again, and becoming whole again. But how can you become whole again if all there is wholeness? And actually wholeness never left. So really what this is actually about is a recognition that wholeness never left. It's not about a coming home. It's about a recognition that you never left home. That home was always just this. So it's not actually that anything happens. It's that the need for something to happen dies or dissolves or is recognized to be an artificial need. Nothing needs to happen for this to be what it is. Talking, sitting, looking is what's apparently happening.
Not even that need needs to die.
Exactly, because it's artificial anyway. But the apparent need for something to happen may seem to dissolve, but seem being the key word. It doesn't actually dissolve. Because with the apparent dissolving, it's revealed that it was never there to begin with. But it's cruel in that way, because either it feels that it's there and it's real and something needs to happen, or it seems to be revealed that actually that never happened, that was a dream, and this is it, and this is okay as it is, and nothing has to happen. So this is the ultimate dilemma of being a person in that way. Because there's nothing I can do to get to my own absence. That is already the case. Because if I feel like there is a me, I feel already present in an absence. It's an illusory presence. I can't do anything to dissolve an illusion that is not happening. But it may just be recognized that it's not happening. That it's just this. Which is why nothing happens with death. Because death is this already. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. There never was someone there. No.
So in very simple terms, it's very, very, very simple. There is seeking or there isn't. So seeking apparently happens or it doesn't. That's it. And when seeking seems to happen, seeking will never ever end because of. There is nothing that can make the seeking stop, so to speak. Seeking just apparently happens until it is no more, without the need that there's no need that it needs to be different. Seeking is just as it is, it's seeking.
You just disturb my meditation.
I'm good at it. I'm good at it. I did find my sole purpose. Oh, no, he's awake.
No, I was just thinking how
Did you?
when yourself and Nico were chatting earlier on, just how like when you were speaking to Doris, like how that can turn from seemingly, when you hear that, being very, very frustrating, hearing that, to just being so compassionate. It's so freeing then. It's like, okay, you know, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing.
And there's no you to do it.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
It's not already happening.
Yeah.
It's a dream that's not. Yeah. So it can go from seemingly being so frustrating to really a sense of freedom in it. Like, it's just so freeing then.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing of being the other side of the coin in that way of the place where it's frustrating for the individual is the same place where it's deeply compassionate. That is this same energy just turned on its head. Like that deep, deep sense of frustration is the equal and opposite to the deep, deep compassion that this is apparently delivering, blah, blah, blah. It's not, but you know what I mean. It's the same as this. So for me, it seemed to be very, very, I mean, this is just a story, obviously, but there seemed to be like, for some people, this seems to fade more, as you know, and then for others, it's more of like this intense sort of contracted getting worse and worse and worse. And it seems like it's similar in that way as well. And that seems to be the people that come to the meetings then. There's a real tension, and there's something that's looking for some sort of release. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's almost then as well that the more contracted the more contracted the apparent system can seem, actually in a way also the more openness there is then, in an equal and opposite measure as well. So it's almost like the apparent place where it's also so contracted is also how contracted that system can become, is also how open it can seem to become. Like everything is energy, and everything seems to then have an equal and opposite in that way. And it's the same thing. The degree to which you feel frustrated is also the degree to which this is compassionate. And the degree to which this is hopeless for the individual is the degree to which this is unbelievably free for no one. Because when you feel like an individual and you hear this, people can seem to hit a place where it's completely, eternally, unconditionally, existentially hopeless. Because there is nothing I can do. Literally nothing I can do. And that is awful. Like, something can just switch in the system, and you can really start to see that there is literally, like, you start to see the game that you are playing with yourself. By trying to find things and do things, because your whole life you've been kidding yourself that no, this is just an innocent thing and I'm just da 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 da. All of it's this seeking to get out. And then I've lost my train of thought there, but the same that when that's then seen, that can be completely hopeless then, because you can see that you are the problem. And everything I am doing is not working. And then there is nothing I can do. And there's just me and the universe then. And there's nothing in it for me. And there's nothing I can do to get out of it. Like, that is existential, unconditional, radical hopelessness for me. But what the individual can't see is that same energy, apparently flipped on its head, is the unconditional freedom that we're pointing to. It's just that for some people, they seem to get to that apparent place still feeling like an individual. But actually, the hopelessness is the freedom we're talking about. What we're talking about is unconditional hopelessness, which is unconditional freedom and unconditional love. But when you feel like an individual, when it's for me, really, actually, unconditional love for me is hopelessness for me. But actually, it's unconditional love. But when there's a me involved, it's hopelessness. That's what me calls it. It is hopeless, but when it feels like it's me, it's like awful. When it's not me, it's freedom. Like, this message isn't trying to be compassionate. It's not trying to be compassionate or radical. It isn't actually compassionate or radical. This is just, there is no one there. This doesn't see anyone. It's not trying to, like, help you even by telling you there's no one. It's just there's no one to tell. So, and then, as far as this is concerned, really, there's nothing radical about that. It's actually the natural reality. It's how it already is. There's no one. But this apparent dream of being someone seems to veil this, really, energetically, completely. And there's nothing anyone can do about that, because it's not really happening.
So it seems to be radical only for the me, because it's for the me. It seems that is against this message, is against the me.
Well, it seems from that point of view, so to speak, it can seem very radical. But I agree with Izzy. As far as this concerns, there's nothing radical about this message. Because how can it be a radical message? What we're talking about, there's a lot of talking apparently happening, but there's a lot of talking apparently happening about something that isn't there already. So what is there radical about it? It just isn't there. And it never was. There has never ever been a person. That's not radical, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
So it's a personal misunderstanding, we can say. No?
Well, it's part of the dream of me.
Part of the dream. For you.
One could say, yeah. Because really what seems to happen within a human being is there seems to be that contracted energy within the story. Out of that comes the bodily misconception that I am here, that I am someone, and all the rest is out there. So it's not a mental, thing, or it's not a mental misconception. No, it's just completely embodied, and it's being mistaken for being someone. It's just energy in that form, if you like. So there's nothing personal in any way. So life isn't personal, it's completely impersonal.
But yeah, as far as me is concerned, this is the most radical thing you will ever hear. The only radical message, really, for the individual. This is the end. What we're talking about is the end of you. It doesn't get more radical for the individual than that. Because everything else you encounter in life is like flirting with death in a way. But this just goes straight to the apparent heart of the problem, which is that you don't have a life. It doesn't beat around the bush in that way. It doesn't mess about. So it is direct, and for the individual, actually, it is the most radical thing you will ever hear, the most existential position you will ever be in, and the most dangerous room you will ever walk into, is these meetings, for the person. And yet, this is the amazing thing in many ways, and again, it's another paradox, is that when you feel real, it all feels so awful and existential and real and terrifying and like it's a real death and it's real life. And then ironically, when this apparent death or this apparent sense that there is someone seems to dissolve or is revealed not to be there, it's just seen that it never happened anyway. There never was anyone. So it never was dramatic or existential or radical even. It was always the natural reality. But seen from the apparent individual, this is the most radical thing you could ever hear.
And the same thing with the two sides.
In a way, again, yeah, same as I was saying to Ollie, it's in a way, it's the same apparent thing flipped on its head. But it turns out that in the end, there wasn't even a coin being turned. So it's not that you go from someone to no one, it's that the coin of someone and no one dies. And there's just what's happening then. There's no sense of there being no one.
Yeah.
It's not replaced. The sense of me is not replaced by a sense of no me.
Also the coin is the me, we can say.
Exactly.
And it always, this duality, it's always
exactly.
A projection of the me, that it sees around it or everywhere. I see opposites, good and bad, dark and the other side, and light.
It's a rare message still, because what seems to happen in what we call life is every human being is trying to deal with the symptoms of the illusion of separation without addressing the root, one could say. That is what seems to happen. And almost everyone is going to help you with that.
Yeah.
Without saying what is really apparently happening.
I had always the idea that duality comes out of thinking. It's only problem of mind. But it seems not to be like this.
There is no duality. There is no non-duality as well.
No duality in thinking in the end.
No, there isn't.
So
There's not non-duality as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the apparent mind, sorry, seems to think in dual terms, you could say, yes.
So
yeah.
Also computer. Therefore, I think in computer you have also 0 and 1. So I think it's something objective, that is real.
Yeah, but this just seems to be a function of the mind, you could say. It seems just be what the apparent mind still seems to function in this way. The thinking still can't grasp this, and it never will, because thinking is naturally dualistic in that sense. But this sense to be me is a dualistic energy in the body of me being here and you being there. And that's what we're talking about, dissolving completely. But the mind still, the thinking just is dual. As a function, thinking is dualistic.
But
That's
only an appearance. In appearance, it has no reality.
exactly.
But
Well, nothing.
It becomes a reality. This opposite. It becomes very real.
Yeah.
Even in language is dualistic by nature.
So somehow there is an appearance of duality, but it has no.
Yeah, you could say so.
No substance.
Yeah. Completely, yeah. Everything is an appearance. And if duality is what it seems to appear, then that is just what's apparently happening. But duality appearing as that, you could say, if we want to use these words, non-duality appears as duality. I mean, I hate this language personally. I just think it's an absolute, I don't really understand what it means. It's just far too technical. But it's the same as saying the formless appearing as form, or whatever, nothing being everything. It's the same paradox, non-duality appearing as duality. Because life appears as duality. There seems to be an appearance of a character here and a character there, and speaking and thinking, and there seems to be multiple things happening at once. But what we're just saying is energetically, the sense of there being a dualistic world seems to dissolve. There's just what's happening then. There's no lived duality going on, and yet duality is what appears everywhere, for no reason at all, for no one. Yeah. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What's wrong with duality, if we want to call it that, or the appearance of duality? There's nothing wrong with anything. If that's what seems to be happening, that's what seems to be happening. But we're just saying it's not real.
When everything is nothing at the end, then it makes it loses
all meaning,
importance.
all meaning, all importance.
Meaning, differences.
Nothing matters. Yes, nothing matters, and not in a personal way of I don't care. Nothing matters. It's just seen that actually there's no one for it to matter to. There's no one at the centre of it whom it's mattering for. There's no person having a life that matters. It's that my life dies, rather than my caring about life dies.
Yeah, it's always the me, only the me, the problem.
Yes.
But the me thinks the problem is out there.
Yes. Well, me projects the problem onto everything else but itself. Yeah. Because if the individual is this sort of projecting machine that works in apparent duality, there's me and there's everything else. So I objectify everything and everyone else. I objectify other people, I objectify objects, things, items, activities, and I even objectify myself. So myself can become an object to myself. So I project even onto myself. I hate myself, I love myself, I need myself, I need to be whole, I need you, you need me, all this stuff that goes on. So me projects onto absolutely everything, and I've completely lost my train of thought there again. But basically what I'm saying is this projection completely ends. There's no longer any sort of... you were talking about the problem, that was it. So me's projecting a problem onto everything else then, and everyone else, including myself. And the projection of an issue just dies. There is no issue. But because me is constantly projecting the issue outwards, what it cannot see, which is that what we are illuminating here, is that me is the problem. But me is projecting the problem. It even creates a double of itself to be the problem. But it is the problem. Me is the problem. The problem is there's a projecting problem machine happening. Not that there are problems.
Yeah.
The problem is the problem maker, not the problems.
But this problem maker cannot see itself.
It can't.
Because
Yeah.
it don't exist.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it can't eliminate the problem maker because the problem maker is artificial anyway. So these problems are actually being projected and created out of nothing. There is no source. They just seem to be happening. And when it's recognized that it's just what seems to be happening and there is no source, then the problem-making machine just seems to... It's like it's unplugged from the wall and it just seems to slow down then. It's not an issue anymore. Everything is an issue for the individual. Everything. Sitting on a chair, existing, is a massive issue for the problem. For the person, sorry.
Only to be here.
To be.
It's a big problem.
To be is a problem.
Then it starts.
Yes. To be
Beginning
is an
of all
issue.
problems.
Yeah, I mean, Tony often tells the story of the baby, the boundlessness, and then the contracted energy. And, I mean, I've heard a few people saying they remember when this comes in and da-da-da-da-da. But anyway, but the point they were saying was that it was suddenly energetically felt how awful this felt then. Everything was an issue then. Just how awful it felt to actually feel that I have a life. It's amazing, really, actually, that the baseline issue is not all the issues you have with your life. The issue is that you have a life, or you feel you have a life. So the issue isn't the bills or the boyfriend or the house or the car or the job. The issue is you, that you feel you have a life. But that's the most confronting thing to hear, because it's easier for me to make everything else an issue rather than see that I am the issue. Because if I see I am the issue, I also have to fall into the helplessness and hopelessness that there's nothing I can do about the issue of my life. It's the only thing I'm helpless to resolve. Like, I can do the bills a bit better, I could get a better job, I could seek more fulfillment in relationships, I could, look to buy a new car or be a better person or heal my trauma or whatever other effort there is. But the only thing I cannot do is end my life. Even by killing myself, I don't end my life. It's the only thing me cannot do.
Also, the me can only try on the wrong side to
Exactly.
improve things.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
it gets in the wrong. It gets away from what
Yes.
is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's constantly actually almost avoiding its own absence by trying to fix everything else. It's constantly kicking the can down the road of the real issue here. The real issue being that actually you don't have a life. It's not that you haven't found fulfillment yet. It's that there's no one to get fulfilled. But there's nothing I can do about that. So I doesn't want to admit that to itself. It would rather bury its head in the sand looking for other things rather than fully seeing with clarity that there is no one and that it's because I don't exist. I'd rather live in hopeless hope than death. Yeah. It's amazing. Me would rather suffer. Me would rather live a life of suffering and despair and destruction and addiction and all these awful, devastating, strong, intense, problematic energies than die. It would rather have a crap life and die than die. Yeah.
It gives the illusion to be something, to be important. For me, it needs this idea to exist. That it has a goal. That there is a goal for me.
Yeah.
A higher.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there always has to be something else. But actually it's not even all these outward things. As I say, even just sitting in the room and being. But the thing is, me can never fully be. Because as long as there is me being. And what we're actually talking about here is there is just being, you could say, with no one in it. Already in this room, all there is being, apparently happening. There's just being apparently happening. And then this is where the spiritual thing comes in, of we can teach you how to just be.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be doing, we should be just being. But if you are an individual trying to just be, you are already doing. The individual is the doer. It can't ever be. You can't do being.
The me cannot only be.
Exactly. Because this is a paradox.
And the enlightenment ones, they say that they
What's that
are
about
only
enlightenment?
beings.
That's just... Have you not been listening to what we've been saying?
My condolences.
But they say that they are being,
Enlightened.
but they are only in this I. In this I am. To be in this I am.
Yes,
that
yeah. No, I know what you're saying, that the awareness kind of thing and the spiritual thing will suggest that there is a place of just being, where we can achieve this state of just being. It's an illusion, it's a dream, it's impossible. And it's a complete and utter detached reality, where I am just aware, or there is just awareness of this. There is awareness of being. Fine, then that's great, that's okay, let's say that seems to happen. Then there's just awareness of being then. That's still duality.
Okay.
Because there's awareness and there's being. And what we're talking about is there's being. And there's no awareness of being appearing to happen. So if there's a being that becomes aware that they are being, that is still duality.
Then it's duality.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would like to add, all those teachings, that's what they are, of becoming, is really the biggest scam out there. There's nothing right with it, there's nothing wrong with it, because obviously it is what seems to happen, but it's the biggest scam out there, really, because all it does, every teaching, is just reinforcing that illusory sense that you are there and you can do something about it. Yeah. And it just keeps the whole dream of me running around in circles over and over again. Then it's just replaced, the sense of a you, replaced by awareness or whatsoever. Yeah. So it has no connection in any way what is being shared here. Because what is shared here is very simple, very obvious. There is just simply already no one.
Also, to be aware of being is the same thing as I want it to be for me.
The start, of course, the starting point is already that they are talking to a you who can do something. But that's just not the case. There is already no you who can do anything. It just helps to reinforce that whole sense. That's what it does. By giving energy to that.
I hope. Yeah.
Is a dreamt reality. When there's no hope, there's freedom.
Yeah, I mean, really, with the whole aware of awareness kind of thing, it's just still personal. Because what they seem to say is that all there is, or all you are, is impersonal awareness. But what we're talking about here is actually not an impersonal reality in that way, because an impersonal awareness or an impersonal reality suggests there is a personal reality for it to be opposite to. What we're talking about, it's like the coin again, personal, impersonal. We're saying there's no coin. There is no personal and there's no impersonal. Because to say something's impersonal is suggesting that it's not personal. But how can it not be personal if there's no such thing as a person for it to not be personal too? So impersonal awareness is just actually a personal state of not feeling like a person.
The personal state is always the starting point.
Yes.
And that's the problem.
Yes, that is the problem. Yeah, it's not a state, but yeah, the person is the problem. And whether you feel like a me that feels fully like a me in the materialistic world, or whether you feel like you are impersonal awareness, or all there is impersonal awareness, there still seems to be a location and an energetic sense of being. Even if there's a sense of being, that is duality. There's no sense of being at all. Not even here, not there. There's just no sense of being. Being does not know itself. It cannot be aware of itself. It is not conscious to itself. It's not alive to itself. Being just is. This does not know that it's happening, appearing to happen. And what those sort of teachings can suggest is that we can show you how being can wake up to itself and be aware of itself. And then you can recognize that you are not a small separate self, and what you really are, or all there really is awareness, being aware of itself. And in a way, then they're not completely wrong in a sense, but what there seems to just somehow be is some sort of awareness of this then. Because really the language they use is very similar. All there is awareness, all there is, I mean, that's not what we say here, but if you want to just use a word, awareness or consciousness, it's just that it's everything. But they then say there's something that can be aware of that. Awareness, I think, is a sticky term because it implies that there is someone aware of it. All there is this, and it does not know itself. I mean, the room, how can the room be aware of itself? Or the cloud, how could the cloud be aware of itself? It just is. It just is what's apparently happening. Just like that is.
And when it's only being without awareness of being, then it can also be the opposite, not being. Also, to be, then it's both sides.
Well, no,
Somehow.
Being, what we're talking about here of being without awareness of being is not in opposition to anything else.
Yeah, but in itself it's also, it's both sides together. It's being and not being.
Well, there's no two sides. This is just being. What's apparently happening in this room is being without an opposite. There are no two sides. This is the collapse of the being and not being. I'm not quite sure what it is you're trying to say, but...
Yeah, it's a collapse of both sides.
Yes.
It's very simple, really. I keep saying it, but that whole awareness thing, for example, the starting point is they're talking to you, like I said before, that you are something or that you are someone, and it's about becoming and it's about knowing. Being aware that this is all there is knowing that this is all there is.
Okay.
So it's that simple. What we're talking about doesn't become anything, it is already. And it's unknowable. So this sharing, what is being pointed at, cannot be known in any way. So it's the same with awareness, it's just more knowing. It's the same with that whole consciousness scam out there. There's nothing right or wrong with it. It's obviously what seems apparently happening, but it has no connection. This doesn't become and cannot be known. So it's that simple.
It's the end of knowing.
It's the end of knowing. It's the apparent end of knowing, one could say.
Apparent.
Yeah. Because you need to know a lot, really, if you are in those awareness bullshit things. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not the end of knowing in an abstract way. It's the end of knowing what this is.
Okay.
There's no one then who actually knows what this is. Talking to one another. There's nothing that knows what this is. Yeah, it's very direct. It's not an abstract state.
Yeah, it's not abstract.
It's direct. No one knows what life is then.
No.
There's just life. It's a mystery.
No need to know.
Exactly.
Right. And the dilemma for the seeker is, we talked about before about that whole projection thing and that objectification, when there's being talked about or when there's being said that this is nothing. The problem or the dilemma for the seeker is it's objectifying nothing. Nothing, it turns nothing into something and makes it into a thing. And there are no things. So, and it's that whole objectification within that dreamt reality that hides that this is it and that cannot be known and it doesn't happen to anyone.
So it's not an object like nothing. Then for me, nothing is also...
For me, then nothing, it turns it into something and it starts to look for what is called nothing.
Somewhere.
This is nothing. Yeah. But not as in a thing.
The appearance, as an appearance, it's not.
It is and it isn't. Yeah. It isn't something.
Yeah, it's close to abstract.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we were saying in the restaurant last night, actually, a few of us, that about this sort of knowing thing. And really, if there's a claim that I know what this is, or the feeling energetically that I know what this is, if I know what this is, I must have created it then. To know what this is, I must be the creator of it. And so this is then what that awareness stuff seems to go into, which is that it actually says, yes, you're right, you are the creator of it. You are God, I am God, and you are recognizing your true nature as God and awareness and the creator, and that what you thought you were was this separate self, but what you really are is God and the creator of this. Because to say I know what this is to claim it and to own it and to be in it, to be it. Really. So actually what we're talking about here is that death is an energetic admission for no one that I do not know what this is. The individual falls into unknowing and they never come out. For no one actually then lives in unknowing. There is just unknowing then. But this is, I think, what people seem to resonate with at these meetings, actually, is in everyone's system, there's something that knows, without knowing, but just to use the language, there's something that knows it doesn't know, and that it knows nothing. But it sort of doesn't know what to do with that knowing. It doesn't know what to do with that confrontation and with that information and with that lived sense it has, that actually I don't actually know what the hell is going on here. But I'm desperately trying to then find out what is going on, finding an answer. Within everyone, really, there is unknowing. Everyone, what everyone actually is unknowing. But then within the apparent setup of the individual, there can then seem to be this energetic need that comes in, of the need to know. All there is unknowing, but the person then comes in and needs to know and resolve the unknowing. So actually this is why death is nothing new. It's just an end of the need to know, and then there's a falling back, apparently, into, to use clumsy language, to what you really are, to what there really is, all there really is, which is unknowing, which is all there already was. I just don't need to know anymore.
Yeah, it's like an energy that always want to know.
Yes,
but
yeah.
In a way, the person can see that this knowing is not perfect. That
yes,
that
yeah.
it's not satisfying.
No.
But it tries farther and farther, because of this energy. When this energy is working, this me energy.
Is that closed loop of knowing?
Then it goes further and further.
Yeah, well, knowing is born and bred out of unknowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always going to be dissatisfying. Mm-hmm. Because it's trying to fix an ultimate, energetic, unknowing. Mm-hmm. And it's trying to know. Mm-hmm. And so that's why no answer you ever get is satisfying. Because all there is unknowing. So the individual is like this wave in the ocean of unknowing, trying to change the nature of the ocean into knowing. And it's just impossible. And energetically it can just seem to collapse back into unknowing. It will never know. It will never know, as much as it tries. And trust me, everyone tries. I tried, every angle, everyone in the room tries to know. And no one ever can. Because life is unknowing. The nature of the reality is unknowing. This is unknowing appearing as this. So of course we can never know it, because its nature is unknowing. It's like trying to use my will to turn the sun into the moon.
Yeah.
I can't. It's the sun.
It's a drive to own the things.
Yes.
For the me.
Yeah.
That I have power about things. It wants to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But for the individual, exactly. But that's actually born out of an energetic sense that I actually really have a will, that I have free will, that I can change this. This is all deep within the system. It's energetic. All there is unknowing, and something in the system knows that, which is what we're really talking to here. This message, this communication isn't talking to the thing there that seems to be trying to know. It's talking to the thing that knows it doesn't know. And that can seem to just then swamp everything. But that can be very confronting, because there's an energy in the body that's still trying to know. And it will seem to grip on for dear life until it maybe as apparently seen that A, it's not there, and, well, yeah, there's no B, actually. There is no B. Yeah. But that can be scary for them, for some people, because I find comfort in knowing what this is. I know who I am. I know this is my body. I know this is a meeting. I know that these words are talking about non-duality. I know that I'm in Berlin. I know that this is a room. I know what's going to happen in a minute. We're going to have a break. It's all knowing. There's a safety in knowing, but knowing is also the entrapment. So what keeps me safe is also what keeps me trapped. So this is again the dilemma for the person, because what I'm most scared of is not feeling. Well, actually, what I'm most scared of is freedom. What I'm most scared of is freedom, but what I most long for is freedom. So the dilemma. In the equal and opposite way that I am terrified of freedom is the equal and opposite way that I desperately long for it. However much I long for freedom, I will be equally and oppositely afraid of it. It's just how it seems to work. So for those individuals that seem to have this really sensitive, deep, open longing for freedom, they also seem to be the ones that are deeply, deeply neurotic and terrified and troubled, because it seems to work both ways.
I see.
The fear of not having any control anymore, which is already the case. Yeah. That's it, really. It's nothing more than that.
To have no control.
Yeah, which is already the case. Because the individual feels and believes it has control over what seems to happen in order for me, like Izzy said, to feel safe. That's the only thing. That's why it wants to know everything, because otherwise it's not safe. So it's a false feeling of having control, because there's no one already to have control. So the debate is not, is there any control or free will? No, there is no one to have control or free will. Yeah. So it's a joke in that way, really.
And then it tries to have more control when it sees that it's not, that this don't work like this.
Yeah.
And it's that closed loop of knowing what hides that this is already it. Yeah. It hides the natural reality, one could say.
Ironically, the way that me tries to be free is by clinging on harder. So it's illogical and it doesn't make sense. But its attempts for freedom involve holding on and controlling more. And this can't be stopped, though. This is energetic. Even if I know that this is not logical, this is just energetically how this contraction plays out. I try to be free by controlling everything more and holding on more.
More control.
Exactly. Somewhere in the system it's recognised that that's stupid and illogical, but as I say, it's helpless to stop that. That's just how this energetic game seems to work with the individual. Yeah. The more I hold on, the more freedom I may get. But actually it's because the more I hold on...
More me.
Well, more me, but also the more I hold on, the more hope there is that one day I will be free. Because the more I imprison myself, the more hope there is that the freedom will be greater.
Then must come to relax.
Exactly. Ironically, for the individual, if I keep myself trapped, if I keep suffering, then the cessation of suffering is always a possibility in the future. And somehow this hopeful energy has a kind of momentum to it. So this is why it's so confronting when we're saying that this is freedom. Because that hope cannot then run. Exactly. And the individual lives on the hope. It feeds off the hope. It needs the hope to survive.
All it wants is to keep seeking, or it's out of job.
Yeah.
That's all it does.
Jobless.
Yeah.
Jobless, yeah, basically, yeah. Death.
Long story short, it's just like that.
Yeah.
Didn't I fire you last month? Guess who's back?
When we say, or when it's said everything is just energy, where come knowing in? Because energy didn't know anything about energy. So it seems that there's no way that knowing comes in, because everything is just energy. And the plan, nothing knows anything about anything else. It just is. And where does knowing come from? Is there
Well, it doesn't. Knowing never comes in. It's a dream.
It's a dream.
It never actually happens.
So energy could also form the dream of knowing.
Well, I think that's going a bit far, really, because actually the dream never happens.
Yeah.
The dream is that there is a dream of knowing. That's the amazing thing in many ways, is this apparent dream of knowing never actually happened. You could say it's an appearance in that way, but then everything's an appearance. Yeah. Energy is just an appearance. There's no actual energy. Energy itself is not an actual thing that is real.
Sure.
It's just an appearance. So energy can appear in any way, including maybe a dream of knowing. But it is a dream. So it doesn't actually appear. In that sense, everything is real and unreal. And actually the only thing that is exclusively unreal is the dream of knowing, or knowing itself.
Because energy itself has no knowing at all.
Energy itself is unknowing.
Yeah.
The nature of energy, if you like, is unknowing.
And it's unknowing what it creates or what's seemingly appears as.
Yeah. Energy doesn't know itself. It's completely blind to itself. It has no idea that it seems to be appearing as this conversation right now. Yeah. It has no ability to know or to be aware or to be conscious or alive or awake. It's completely a blind, unknown reality apparently happening.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. How come knowing? Because it's just unknowing at all.
Well, again, how come knowing, but knowing never happens?
Yeah.
So it's not a question even then.
Yeah.
Because it does never happen. So it's not even how does it happen, because it never happens.
Yeah.
It's a dream that it happens.
That's all a dream, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
When you are speaking, then there is no awareness what you are speaking about and that you are speaking.
Yeah.
Not that.
No.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, it is, yeah. Yeah. It is, yeah. It is. There is no awareness of this apparently happening right now. No awareness. And there's no awareness there.
Yeah.
It's not a special thing this has. This doesn't have anything and that doesn't have anything. There's no awareness there that this is happening. There's no awareness of sitting in a room in Berlin.
So everything is functioning for itself?
In a way you could say that, yeah.
Thinking also?
Yes, yeah. Everything is just a function for itself, for no reason actually. Thinking, sitting, talking, looking, responding. Yeah, the same thing that seems to be happening there. Full-on aliveness. Just an organism apparently functioning with no awareness of itself. It's just an animal in that way. No awareness. And yet the brain seemed to have this ability to think and abstract and do all these normal things that a human brain can do. But there's just no personal awareness of there being me sitting here. And this is actually the part that's impossible to describe. How there can seem to be an apparently functioning human being, and I can say to you that I'm sitting here as a character, and there's you sitting over there, without there being any real sense that there is a me, or that this is me sitting here, without any location, or any centre, or any lived sense of a reality here. That's indescribable. How things just apparently happen without there being a sense that there is a me here to whom it's happening to. That's just...
Yeah. So the human is a thinking animal, you can say, and it's not so wrong, this definition.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it seems to be a thinking animal.
Thinking more or less.
I think it would be a lot better for a lot of us if it wasn't, but yeah. Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah, the brain is amazing in many ways. It can seem to abstract, to plan, to think, memories, thoughts, feelings, thoughts about feelings. But that doesn't require an individual, a real individual, to do that. It just seems to be a function of the organism. Just like different animals will do different things, this just seems to be what happens with these bodies. But thinking doesn't actually happen. There is no such thing as thinking, really. It's just an appearance. And there's no one who knows what thinking is, or what the thoughts are, or what this means, or no one who's listening to the thought stream. There's just the thought stream seeming to happen, and it's unlocated. There's no sense of it happening in the mind, in me. It's just what's happening.
But it seems to be a different thing. The body and feelings and thinking seem to be different. Different.
Well, for the person, they probably do, because they're separated out. There's me, then there's my body, my thoughts, my mind, my feelings. When in reality, it's actually just all chaotically, seamlessly as well, happening at once, you could say. It's all just what's appearing to happen. Feelings, thoughts, the body, talking, sitting in a room, breathing. It's all just apparently happening, full on aliveness. There's no separating it out into
categories
sort of... Sorry?
No categories.
No categories, no boxes, no sections. No, it's just oneness, wholeness, appearing as everything at once. Yeah.
All together.
All together, you could say, yeah, but with no experience of that as well. There's no experience of this. There is no experience of this. What we're talking about here is the end of experience, which is death, basically. Because when most people think of the end of experience, they think of the end of my life, which will be in however many years. But actually, we're saying that this is the end of experience. There's no experience.
Every moment is the end of experience.
All there is the end, you could say, yes. The moment's a bit, because there's no moment, but I know what you mean. Yeah, death is all there is. Actually, you're constantly being confronted by your own absence. Walking on the street, that's your own absence. Sitting in a room is your own absence. Looking at the stars is your own absence. All there is absence, which turns out to be the ultimate presence for no one.
But only for no one.
Only for no one.
Not for a person.
No. Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's always...
Well, the ultimate presence for me sounds very attractive, but it's quite a misleading word. But it just seems to turn out somehow that the absence of me is the ultimate presence of everything else, which is the same basically as saying it's nothing being everything, or emptiness being fullness. It's the same paradox. Yeah. There is a break.
Okay, let's have a break. Good? 45 minutes break.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Where is the line? What, like the things which belong to the illusionary me, and the things which belong to the body, to the function of the animal, of the human animal?
Yeah, well, there is no line. There is no line. because there is no illusion. So nothing belongs to the illusion, because it's an illusion. But, I mean, we've had many discussion about this, and it's impossible. There is no answer to this question, ultimately. Because, on the one hand, when you feel like an individual, and when the body seems to function according to there being an individual in there seem to be a lot of behaviours and activities and functions that seem to happen as an apparent result of that sense of feeling like someone. You know, addictions, wars, conflict, certain emotions, behaviours, jobs, relationships, all these sorts of things seem to come out of this sense of me and this sense of seeking. Only insofar as when the sense of me is revealed to be illusory, a lot of these things, and there's no rules, but a lot of things can seem to just die off. It was revealed that actually the job I was doing was really just a seeking thing, or this relationship was really just a seeking thing. And it won't necessarily mean that the job or the relationship has to end, nothing has to happen, but there's just a revelation of how it was working. Because people often ask, are wars and all this sort of stuff because of me, this me energy? And this is how it's impossible to answer, because on the one hand, yes, if it's clearly seen there's no one there, there's no need for war, there's no need for conflict, there's no need to prove that I'm right and you're wrong. The whole thing just collapses. But on the other hand, we can't actually say that anything happens as a result of this me, because there isn't one. So it's just wholeness playing itself out, but wholeness can seem to get lost and forget its wholeness and pretend it's an individual doing all these things, only to maybe remember that it's just wholeness to begin with.
I was asking like more like for the one human being, for example, like for example being offended or something like this. I don't think anymore, if this sense is falling away, I don't think anymore that means that this being will be completely holy
perfect
and perfect. I don't. But still, there's the idea it cannot be 100% the same. So then is the question. Where is like stuff to protect oneself or prove someone right or prove others wrong and all this stuff? Like, is it the same? Like you said, you cannot predict which belongs to where?
Yeah, it's the same, yeah. And really, in a way, it's only with this apparent death is it actually revealed just how much or what seemed to come from this sense of me, which actually turned out to be everything. Because when you feel like an individual, everything comes from me. And then when the sense of being me dies, nothing comes from me, and things just happen. So really, actually, what we're talking about is not the behaviours and the addictions and the problems and the conflict and the triggers and the conditioning here. Really, ultimately, what we're saying is there's either a sense that is happening to me and I'm doing that, or maybe it's just happening then with no one in it. So perhaps what can seem to happen is the sense of me seems to fall away or is seen to not be there, but all of the conditioning and the triggers and the addictions and the activity in the body can seem to run on for a while, who knows however long. The patterns, all of these sorts of things. There's just no longer a sense of anyone living them, anyone doing them, and they're not a problem. And there's no need to find this line anymore. I mean, this is, like all questions, it's an impossible question to answer. But really what it seems to come out of is this sense of, if I can find what behaviours are coming from the me, like what behaviours are pure and what behaviours are coming from the me, And then if I can find the behaviors that are coming from the me, I can somehow stop them and find wholeness again, in a way. This is what this is kind of looking for. But really, actually, there is no line, because the line is that when there feels that there's an individual, everything you do seems to come from me. But then when the sense of being someone dissolves or is revealed to not be there, nothing comes from me. Do you see what I'm saying? Like within the me, there is no line. Either you feel like a me, or there's just then no one there.
And if this stuff is going on, everything is felt, the feelings are felt. It's not like when you say it's not real, you don't mean like you don't feel it.
Well, I do mean that in a way. It means that
like you, yeah, the you, but like the feelings can be
exactly.
Like, and the body is felt. It's not like this is not felt.
Well, this is where it's impossible to describe, because feelings seem to happen, the body seems to happen, emotions seem to happen, behaviors seem to happen. There's just no one in there or here or anywhere experiencing them, having them, owning them, being in them. They're just what's apparently happening. But there's no sense that this is real, but there's also no sense that it's not real. It's just what apparently happens. So really, when you feel like an individual, you're trying to then work out the line of where I begin and I end, as if there's some sort of beginning and ending within me that I can then cross over to no one. But this is impossible.
Well, I don't have this hope, but yeah, still I like, because many non-duality teachers are criticized, like, because then people say, oh, how can this egotistical behavior be if there is no one? And so, but it seems it's like this is not what you are saying. It's like if you look from the outside, you cannot say like this behavior is
absolutely exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of people will say, oh, that there's clearly a me over there because they're behaving in this way. That's the unconditional compassion that this message is saying. There is no one. There is no one. A lot of things can seem to arise out of the, like, it can be clear in a way when that body over wherever feels like an individual, in a way, but on the other hand, there's no one there doing that. It's just no one appearing as a sense of I am someone. And then all of these behaviors seem to come out of that. And it can just seem to all dissolve. But it's not actually coming from a me or an ego. There's no one to blame for those behaviors. There's no one doing them. But that's quite confrontational, it can be. Because what we're basically saying is there is no one to blame. Because it's quite, in a way, comforting in a sense to say that these bad things that happen in the world are coming from the me or the ego, or, you know, this split off part of ourselves. And if we return to wholeness, these bad things wouldn't happen. But actually, those bad things are just wholeness playing itself out. And there's no possibility of it being any other way in terms of a person changing it. Don't know if you want to add.
I have nothing to add. I just would like to say sometimes for the individual, when we're talking about an illusion, it's not that there is something inside the body like an illusion, because often it's mistaken, oh, it's an illusion, but there is no thing like an illusion inside the body. It's just what is suggested here is that the sense that there is a you who has control and free will is illusory. not as in a thing that seems to be in there. That's what I would like to add. And when that dies, nothing new comes in, because that's the expectation of it. When that sense of I am here is no longer there, it's not replaced by anything. It's just is no longer there.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, with this thing, I mean, I can't get my head around this. This just is unknowable, this whole thing of where do we draw these lines, because there isn't one. It's impossible to know that or to pin it down. It just, I mean, it breaks my mind in half. Like, you can't, the mind just cannot go there to work these things out. Because what we're saying is completely energetic. Like, if we try and work these concepts and work with the concepts and the theories, it just drives us crazy. What we're talking about here is an energy. And what we're basically saying is that this is it. This is boundless aliveness, appearing as this. And there's no one in this. And there's no one in it ever. And that there is someone is an illusion. So whatever happens is just what apparently happens. And there's no one doing that. Regardless of whether it seems to come from someone or not, there is no one. So after that, it just goes into concepts, and it's just impossible, really. Well, the whole thing's impossible, but...
Even if there would be a description of apparent differences, it would be just feeding hope to the illusory individual. That then I want that, or that will be it when that is going to happen. And that's not the case, just this is it already, exactly as it is, with a sense of being someone or without.
The funny thing is, like, I'm noticing all the time that I have no control. Like, whatever, I can make a plan, and if I stick to the plan or not, it's absolutely not in my hands. And this, I notice always whatever plan, and but there is the impression that there is somebody, and this is strange because I think, like, if there really is somebody, then there should be the possibility of control also. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, though, this is not about you not being in control. And it's not actually about control or no control. It's that there is no one doing that already. There is no one making plans and not sticking to them or sticking to them. There's just what apparently happens.
Yes, I know this is what you say. I just, I was asking myself, like, why, when what I ever notice is that there is no control, why doesn't this automatically make that the illusion falls away? This is the question.
Yeah, well, because if there's you noticing that there is no control, you're still in control.
But what can I control? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I cannot control what I think. I cannot control what I will do or not do. I cannot control anything.
Yes, but it's even worse than that, though.
Yeah.
Because it's not that there is an I there that can't control anything. That's true. But it's actually not because there's an I that can't control. It's because there is no I there.
Yes, this is logical even.
Ah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I believe you, so to speak.
No, I
The whole sense of me collapse.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. So you're saying that if you see that there's no control, why do I still feel like someone then?
Yes, that's the question.
Right. Yes. Well, you don't. There is no one there.
Yeah.
That you still feel like someone is an illusion. It's not happening.
That just, yeah. Or like, also you can say it, like if you try something your whole life and it's never successful.
Yeah, clearly.
Why?
Exactly.
Why the heck?
Yes.
It keeps trying somehow.
Well, see, what we're saying is completely energetic.
Yeah.
Like, you can have all the insights you like about this. And that, I mean, I had loads of insights and sort of glimpses and moments of quite what felt at the time profound realizations. Like, oh, crap, there's no one here. I'm not in control. There's no one doing this. But it didn't help me. I still felt, at the end of the day, no matter how many realizations I had, when I got into bed at the end of the day, I still felt like me. So it didn't matter, because this isn't about knowing or understanding that there is no one. It's about a lived reality in the body, that I am someone. And so with all of those recognitions and realizations, I'm then just someone that knows I have no control, that knows this is just a seeking dynamic playing out, that knows that I'm just seeking wholeness and wholeness is all there is. But that doesn't help me still feeling like me, because what we're talking about is an energetic death of the individual that knows all these things. That's the frustration for the person, is you can know as much as this apparently knows about the concepts we're talking about, but it doesn't seem to change the fact that if there seems to be a claim that there's someone, then that's what's happening, until maybe it's not. It's totally hopeless.
Yes.
Yeah. But also that's the freedom, because then it doesn't matter how many, no realization is going to free you. That's what we're really saying.
Yes, I noticed. I didn't think even like some years before maybe, but already several years. I don't think that any realization will bring anything.
Well, really, actually, what we're saying though is that nothing will ever free anyone. And that is the worst thing to hear as an individual, because everyone's looking for the key to free them. But we're not talking about freedom for someone here. We're saying there is no one trapped. There's no one there trapped. needing to be free. So, but when there feels that there's someone and I'm trapped and I need to be free, I'm looking at how I can be free.
So basically, you are saying it is what it is.
Well, it isn't, actually. What I'm saying is it isn't. There is no one there. There is no entrapment.
I mean, in the sense, it is what it is. It is happening, whatever is happening.
Yeah, in that way. But the only thing that isn't happening is this me. This me is not happening at all. There is just what appears to be happening, but this life of me and me being trapped and me being free is a dream. That's not happening at all. Everything else is just an appearance, but that does not exist. And yet the individual sits there and says, but I exist. I'm real. I feel real. And this is why this is so strange for the person, because this is saying this somehow, and then that sits there and says, well, I feel like an individual, and that's my reality.
I even don't feel like one, I have to say. How can I describe? I don't know. It's like I could not say like you say, there is no one. I cannot say this. I mean intellectually, but not in another sense. But I also cannot, like the so-called normal people who are completely sure, I never can say it like them also.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
That is. And I don't ask with a hope that this really brings something. Just.
Yeah, well, it's almost like the knowing is crumbling in a way. That I don't know that I am, but I also don't know that I am not. But actually what we're talking about is we're not talking about knowing anything. We're actually talking about the end of knowing. There's nothing here that knows that there is no one.
Or if we're speaking about the intellectual knowing, I completely know that I'm not. That's
right.
Completely clear. But
yes.
I mean in the, like, how I experience myself in everyday life.
Well, that's basically it then, exactly, yeah. This is the thing, is that for me experiences, to start with, that is the individual, is that I experience, is I am, that is the person. And it doesn't matter what I experience, the act of experiencing itself is the individual.
Knowing is experiencing.
Yeah, and that is what we're saying is illusory. There is no experience.
There's no difference between knowing. There is no difference between knowing and experience. Knowing and experience is the same thing. And it's that knowing or experience or whatever you want to call it that hides that this is it. And it's the biggest dilemma for the individual or for the seeker, that this communication does not come out of any knowing. There is no knowing here going on about even what words are coming out. They are just words naturally appearing, without knowing that.
And when I say I experience myself in everyday life, it's like, I would say sometimes are the moments when something is happening, but there's no, how to say, I'm not watching myself while it's happening. It's just like, somehow without. And then there are the other moments where it seems like, and this is like when there are thoughts coming of remembering or judging or whatever, like then they're all starting the layers of something, and this is then what gives the feeling of Yeah. So.
Yeah, me is this. Thank you. Me is this overlay, so to speak, that actually isn't as. For the individual, I am real, and this is my life, and it kind of seems like both. It's like this constant, but it also seems to come and go throughout the day, even. Me is this illusion that seems to overlay itself all the time, in and out, constantly. There can seem to be more apparently significant glimpses, so to speak, where the whole dynamic of the individual seems to shrink or collapse momentarily or altogether. But throughout the day, like in flow, so to speak, or in a task, there's often no one there. There's often no sense of someone being there, painting, doing a painting, or just anything ordinary maybe as well. There's just no, and then something can seem to come back in and register that it's back in. And this just seems to be a daily occurrence for most people. Most people are actually going in and out, if we're to entertain that sort of narrative, all day, really, and they just don't realise it. They don't realise that's what's happening.
And for you, it's like?
It's not like anything. Because for the individual, actually, when there's an in and out, even when there's less of me, there still somehow kind of seems to be a sense of something happening, like a more expanded sort of openness or something like this. And I can only really see this now, looking back, so to speak, that actually, even when I had glimpses, there was still something there. Because there had to be, otherwise it would be death. So even in these more open things, really what they are actually are experiences of more openness and less me. But they're experiences because they're still bound to the centre of me. So when you feel like an individual, there's an energetic centre that can seem to open quite a lot and expand, but it still seems to be there somehow, even in this openness. And what we're really talking about is the complete destruction or the exposure of the illusion of this centre. Then there's just openness. So then it's not like anything for anyone, because there's no reference point. There's no sense of going in and out anymore, or of opening and closing, because there's no one there to be able to experience or reference that. Because when you have these sorts of things, the individual, I think, then expects what we're talking about to sort of be like that. It tries innocently to liken it to anything it knows. So I've had an experience of flow, or I've had an experience or a glimpse, and that's then what it, that's, I always used to think death would be like a glimpse, constant glimpse in a way, because it's the only thing the person can try to abstract and conceptualize, because ultimately death is the complete unknown. It does not know what this is. It's the only thing it cannot understand or experience or liken to anything it has ever experienced, because it can't know unknowing using knowing. It's the only thing that's outside the individual's bubble. Like if I feel I'm alive, I literally cannot imagine my own absence, because anything I imagine will have me in it somehow, even if subtly.
Yeah, well, only I can imagine when I'm in deep sleep, but I cannot imagine my absence without sleeping. I mean, like now, sitting and talking. This you cannot imagine with absence.
Yeah, and yet this is deep sleep. And in deep sleep, there is no one. So you actually cannot imagine your experience in deep sleep, because in deep sleep, there is no one.
Yeah, well, I imagine it like, like blank, like nothing, like...
Yeah, you could say so,
but
yeah.
This is not what I would say about you. No.
Imagination will always be something else.
Yeah.
It will never be this. Whatever is imagined will never be this. Imagination is always, without exception, always something else.
Yeah.
That's why this, as it is overlooked. Because of that. So it's impossible to imagine that this is it.
Yeah, who wants the microphone?
It's really the impossibility. Whatever imagination that seems to naturally occur or arise, it can never be this. Because it's an imagined something which is always pointing to something else. That's the overlay, really. If I could escape. You're gone again?
Yes.
All right, choose. See you on Tuesday?
Yes.
Tuesday, all right?
Tuesday.
Cheers.
Take care. There's nothing wrong with imagination, by the way. But I'm just saying, for the individual, it's impossible to imagine that this is it. There's no possibility in any way.
It is even with the usual things like this, like anything you imagine how this meeting will be or whatever, and it's always different than.
It's completely has no reality. Absolutely. Yeah. The individual cannot imagine its own absence. It's a complete loss. It's just sitting on a seat, and no longer that there is, I am sitting on the seat. That feeling that is deeply embodied is completely gone. It's no longer there when it is seen that this was all there is. So it's a complete loss. Nothing new comes in. It's a loss of that whole dreamt reality, if you like. So there is never ever a sense that I am here and I am talking or I am sitting or I am breathing. It's the end of that. It's just what naturally apparently happens without knowing that. There's no longer any knowing or any experience going on.
But the feeling, for example, of warmth or cold or hard or soft or whatever is there on the chair, for example.
Well, whatever seems to apparently happen is whatever seems to apparently happen, but which is already the case for every human being, because there's just no one. It's not that there is someone who is becoming no one. No, there is no one here in this room already. So whatever seems to arise or whatever seems to happen is already without a you in there. There is no you already. So you are not the one who is sensing warmth or cold or hearing sounds. No, that's not the case. That's the whole dreamt reality. The me claims everything, what naturally seems to happen. And that is a whole dreamt reality. Nothing happens by you, nothing happens to you. So this isn't your body, those are not your thoughts, and so on and so forth. There's just the appearance of a body, that's it. So it's wholeness appearing as for no reason.
But it does not mean that there are no feelings, for example.
Well, there is no difference between, there's no real here and there, but there is no difference between that body we call Joanna or between this. Feelings do naturally arise. The illusion is that they are arising for you, or that in English, that those are your feelings, for example. It's not the case, but it's already like that. It's not suddenly something has changed and then suddenly it's no longer personal and then becomes impersonal. It's not becoming. It's already like that. So every feeling that seems to apparently arise there is already not your feeling, is already not happening to you.
It's very freeing, that, when you hear that, actually.
Well, it can be
like that really is freedom, isn't it? Just what you've said, that's freedom.
It can be like that, because in this setting, if you like, there's nothing wrong with whatever seems to happen. So nothing needs to change, because that's the whole dream of me, that there is something missing or there's something wrong and something needs to change in order for me to feel better.
Yeah.
And what is being suggested here is that everything is already exactly as it is. And if that's free, then that might be freeing. For the individual, it looks like this message, there's, at the end of the day, there is no message even. There's just what seems to apparently happen. But it's so utterly simple. Because in very simple terms, life is already happening by itself, so to speak. Whatever that may be, every feeling, every sensation, every thought, every da-da-da, and I can go on for a few hours, but it's already happening, apparently, by itself. Nobody can teach you how to let your blood circulate, for example, or how to grow hair or your nails, or how to breathe, and so on and so forth. But it's like that. Yeah, maybe the hair is not the right thing, but we're on the same.
Speak for yourself, Nico.
We're on the same page, Oliver. So no worries. We're on the same page. So I understand the growing hair thing is not the right example. So
I feel your pain. Is what you say. Yeah. It's funny, the little things that just catch you out sometimes. Just when you were talking earlier on, you can hear things a lot and it just when you said, that there is no actual illusion running in the body.
No, because then that's just the me replacing itself by illusion. But it's the same with ego. It's the same with the ego, the soul, awareness, consciousness, God. What else do we have of that whole whole shop? It's the same. It's just me has a lot of names for itself, so to speak. But it's still the same. It just isn't there.
But it somehow sort of took there's still somehow the sense that there was actually an illusion running.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Within the body, it's somehow sort of.
Yeah, that something seems to be there, and then.
Yeah, it was like, oh, there's actually not, an illusion.
Well, it makes it basically when you hear this as an individual, you hear the whole illusion thing. You then start to think there's something wrong that needs to be gotten rid of. That there's an illusion running, and this illusion needs to stop before I can see this. But what we're actually saying is there is no illusion of an individual. There is no one. And there is no illusion, really, of there being someone.
Subtly, this sort of,
actual thing called an illusion.
Yeah. I suppose subtly it sort of says, right, there might be no me or something, but there's an illusion. It kind of, well, maybe it transferred the me over into the illusion then.
Yeah, that's
sort of,
what Nico's
there's
saying.
No me here, I'm convinced of that, but there's an illusion running.
Yes.
So it kind of, it's like same as the death thing.
Yeah.
Me's kind of shifting itself over. Well, I'll move over there now, because he's sort of thinking there is no me here now, so we'll put the me into the illusion, and then we'll put it into the death down the road. Yeah. Right, so it's constantly shifting to protect itself, moving like chess pieces.
There is no me. There is no illusion of me. There is none of these things. There is just what apparently happens. The only thing we seem to refer to as the illusion of me is that there seems to be something that claims that there is someone, but it's only apparently real insofar as that's a body there saying, I'm me. That doesn't mean there's this real illusion.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
It's just a body saying that, and that's what we then say, well, that's an illusion, because it's not there.
Yeah.
But the person then creates that to be a real
like an
illusion.
actual physical illusion.
Yes, or
like a dream
yeah.
that's like some sort of a dream program
that's got
that's
a
running.
reality of its own.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Nor is all of this an illusion. Because that's often as well the case. Then, it's all an illusion. So all of this is an illusion. The only illusion there is that there is a you. It's the only illusion. Not as in an actual thing that is there, because it just isn't there. Put it down? It's pointing to doors. It's like when the music stops, the next one. Sorry, I behave. I recognize that look.
I think this is actually what was directly confronting for me, though, when this was recognised, if you like, is because I seem to hide myself, and me seems to hide itself and protect itself by having this illusion.
And try to comfort itself.
Yeah, and keep itself safe. But really, actually, what was recognised was that I was me. There was a me. I felt like me. This felt like a me. There seemed to be it. Well, at the time I would have said there was a me here. And then Andreas was talking about me. Like the whole time I was trying to see through the illusion of me. But then it was seen that the illusion he was talking about was me, the I that was trying to see through the illusion. Like as we said yesterday, it's a personal attack. Like you that's trying to see through the illusion is the illusion. So you can never see through that because you are that. It's everything that you are is an illusion.
Nor can it expel itself because it's illusory. Because that's what the me would like then. I would like to expel myself, which is impossible because it's not there. So long story short, in very simple terms, there's no one who's having a life, there's just life apparently happening. That's it. And even that are even too many words to describe what is indescribable really.
Yeah, so what you said there is the thing that's trying to see through the illusion is the illusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And in that way, then it's a sort of...
it's the same way like saying that freedom will happen to me one day, or liberation will happen to me. It's the same.
It's probably in a way why it's so frustrating, because it's a sort of... It's like... Well, it's sort of... it's so contained. It's like you can't even get out of it to see into it to sort of figure it. It's like... Oh, Jesus, why can't I... Like, that's why sometimes energetically, when something's just said, it seems to cut through that sort of...
it's utterly hopeless. Really.
Yeah.
It's completely hopeless.
It's like this, why can't I get out of it? Why can't I see it? So the thing that's trying to say, why can't I get out of it? Why can't I see it? Is the illusion that's trying to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think on Andreas's YouTube banner thumbnail thing, at the top he has a little quote which is, working to get rid of the illusion is part of the illusion. Only an illusion would be needing to get rid of an illusion.
So in a way, like really, if you think of it, I suppose the working to get rid of the illusion and is actually just strengthening the illusion.
Well, it doesn't actually strengthen it, but it is the illusion.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of an illusion is the illusion. Because it's based on the premise that there is an illusion that needs to be gotten rid of. There is no illusion to see through. But it's the same way as saying, you are the problem. That's what, energetically, it's the same thing that it's saying.
Individual doesn't like that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense in a way when you think of it with the meetings, and somehow it just seems you can hear it, and then sometimes it just seems to go and it's just heard energetically somehow.
Yeah, and because what we're talking about here is the collapse of the illusion of there being an illusion.
Yes.
So when something is heard, it has to cut through.
Yeah.
It has to be all or nothing. This isn't, when something is heard, it's not heard by you.
Yeah.
It's not heard, it's part of that world.
Yeah, I got
So
you.
this isn't about some sort of gradual understanding within that world. It has to be radical in that way. It has to cut through. It's all or nothing. It's completely two apparently separate worlds, and there can seem to be a cutting through or not. You never hear this from the individual.
Yeah.
The individual can't hear what we're saying at all.
Yeah, can't hear it.
No, cannot.
It's like an energetically deafness to it. It believes it does,
Yes.
but obviously it doesn't.
Yeah.
Or it don't. It don't. It's like energetically, it's deaf and blind to this. And it's not needed to be seen as well. Because there's nothing wrong or right in that sense. It's not like all those teachings that they're claiming there seems to be an ego and you get to get rid of it, or all those things that seems to happen.
I'm really trying to hear this. Sorry, thank you. No. Trying to hear this is illuminating how you can't hear this. It's either heard or it isn't. And if someone is trying to hear this or get this, it's only confirming that I can't get it. The trying is the expression of the impossibility and the hopelessness and the helplessness, and that I don't get it and I'm not there yet. Only something that felt like it needed to hear something would try to hear something. The trying is a reflection of the need. Nothing needs to be heard. There is nothing to hear, which can ironically be heard by no one.
Isn't it ironic? Oh, sorry. Thought you failed.
Ironically, hearing this is the absence of needing to hear this.
And seeing that it was never needed to be heard as well.
It's all really paradoxical all the time, isn't it? It's everything is paradoxical. Nothing makes actual sense.
No.
That's it. This whole message doesn't make any sense.
As Andreas would say, this is not logical.
Not logical, no.
It doesn't make any sense in any way, really.
Yeah, nothing really makes sense. None of this is logical. It's all paradoxical. Yeah, really.
And only apparently, because there's no even a real paradox as well. Yeah. Because it's just only, it sounds like a paradox only by telling a story. There is no paradox.
Yeah, it seems to get, in a way, it's getting more simple. Like the questions are, I'm here, and then it's no, you're not. There's just not much going on really when it simplifies down a little bit. There's something here saying, I'm a person, I feel like a person. Yeah. And an elimination, no.
It's a false claim in a way, one could say.
Yeah.
That's really all the meetings are.
Yeah.
I feel like me. No, there's no one there.
Yeah.
That's all the meeting is, constantly. It doesn't matter how verbose or articulate the response is. Energetically, the question is, I'm me, what do I do? And the response is, there's no one, this is it.
Yeah.
The questioner isn't seen, really. There's no questioner.
Like in a way, energetically, after it seems somehow then after a while, you just get the sense that the question is, like, the question's just energetically all the same. They're energetically all the same thing, and the answers are energetically
the same.
It's just, yeah.
It is. It really is. In a literal way, it is the same. Every question, every so-called personal question is the same question. I'm here. What is this? And every answer is the same apparent answer. No, you're not. This is it.
Yeah.
And that is heard or is.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Oh yeah, it seems like that now. It's either heard or it isn't. Energetically, it's either heard. It's just, it's
that simple.
It's just how it seems to go. It's either something is either energetically heard or it's not, or for so long it's not, and then it is.
It's really not much else to say. Seeking apparently happens or it doesn't. This is heard or it isn't. That's it. That's it. There's nothing more to it. It's that simple.
Yeah, and actually I remember here because really when you said about the deafness, they're really here at least. I remember I was listening to Andreas and it literally did feel at the time, and this was still me and everything, but it felt as if something energetically had popped in my ears, or someone had taken some earplugs out and it could finally be heard. Yeah. And it was very clear then, in that moment, whatever, it was very clear, like, well, no wonder I haven't fucking been hearing it. Because I had cotton wool energetically in my ears. Do you know what I mean? What we're saying is so simple and obvious and clear and direct. It's not complicated. It's not hidden. It's not difficult. But when there's apparently an energetic contraction that's blocking this from being heard, it is impossible to hear.
Yeah, you just reminded me there of what it was I was trying to articulate a minute. Yeah, what you were saying there is the cotton wool in your ears. I lost the train of thought now again. It's just that. So in a way, actually, there's a sort of an energetic giving up, really, because it just says, "Oh, right." So if I sit here for 5 years and energetically don't hear that, that's just what's happening.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
So there's a sort of a. Well, it's not even that somebody's saying, "Oh, well, I'll just give up about it." There's an energetic.
Yeah.
They're telling me that it's energetic, and it's either heard or it's not. And then there's a sort of,
And ironically, that energetic dropping of the need then to work it out is the death we're talking about. That's then when it's heard. But it can only be heard. Do you know what I mean? Like that only comes with the absence of the need to hear it, or the recognition that what the fuck can I do then? But that's then not something that you've achieved because it's the giving up of you that you're not doing.
I like when it said it's energetically heard or not, that's meant literally.
Totally literally.
Yeah,
well, I remember literally being like, well, it's almost like it was never my fault. What could I have done? Like, it wasn't that I had a choice. It was just there was a apparent block, literally an energetic block on this being heard. It's literally like you're deaf and blind to what's being said. And then it can just seem to pop or lift or die. And then it's crystal clear and obvious for no one.
Yeah, well, I suppose it just made sense because... like, you know, in the way when we were talking sometimes, you can be talking and there's, you know, and then one sentence or like 2 or 3 words and it just hits you.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, well, how did that happen? Because I'm listening the same.
Yeah.
Just listening away and then you just, like, honestly, like just 2 or 3 words come and it's just like, whoa. Like, you know, you were listening to all the same words, listening the same, listening away, and then it's just...
Well, if anything, it shows that this is not up to you.
Correct.
This is not your choice.
Yeah.
Boundlessness will catch you off guard and kill you. This is not up to anyone. And actually, that's when it can start to be more confronting. Because it's like, actually, it's not about me trying to hear this. It's about boundlessness killing me.
Yes.
And it can just to articulate it as a story, it could choose at any moment just to end your life.
This is the end.
Doris, you're ready to go, are you?
But how could it even be that we're having a conversation and there's someone choosing to, when will this, to listen to a certain word for that to energetically get through? It's just impossible. It's too alive, it's too spontaneous, it's too free, it's too open. It's just as it happens. And as you say, if there's closedness there, then there's closedness. That's what's happening.
It seems to be somehow that actually, at some level, it just seems like it's not been energetically heard, but it seems as if it's sort of been energetically heard at some level, sort of unbeknownst to this apparent person. It seems to be sort of slipping under the radar. That's how it feels. It just seems to... And then when it's heard, when something's really heard, then, like in a sentence, it seems like that was only just then. But I think it's sort of energetically heard somehow.
Well, something has to be resonating with it. Otherwise, coming to the meetings constantly wouldn't seem to happen, it seems. Something has to be resonating with it.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
For me,
Micro, later? Micro.
I think for me, it's always like to be somehow in the middle. Or so the halfway is done. I have to down it, but no, the rest. It feels always like that. Something I have understood, but no, it's needed this energetic shift.
It's the need that there's...
For me, it's always so like this.
It seems like for the individual that always things need to happen.
Yeah.
So something needs to happen in order for me to feel better.
Mm.
That seems to be the dreamt reality, yeah.
Yeah, but when you say it's one or the other side, it's heard or it's not.
It's that simple. What is being suggested here is heard or it isn't.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to it.
And for me, it's somehow like to be in the middle. I have something heard, but not all. So that's what I mean.
Really, with what the me, what I was going to say. Try again. For most individuals, when they come across this so-called message, there's not a real message, but to put it in a story like that, there is the idea that if I understand a certain word, it's funny because it listened to this message and it keeps listening when there's a resonance to it, and it has that illusory idea that if I understand that certain word, That certain word magically will set me free. That's it. It lives in that world of knowing and owing. All it knows is its own illusory experience. And that's the idea. If I understand, maybe not this, but there will be a word, and when that is fully understood, then it will set me free. And that will never happen. As in never ever. Because it has nothing to do with an understanding. There are enough people out there, so to speak, that understand what is being suggested here, and all there seems to be then is still, there's nothing wrong with that, but they still feel like someone, but now with an understanding that there is no one. So that's why what Izzy is saying, or what Izzy has said, it's completely energetic. Because the sense of the individual, which is a misconception, an energetic misconception, one could say, is embodied, is deeply embodied. So it's not an idea or a story. No, it's a sense in that whole body that is apparently there, or it isn't.
Yeah, but it seems that it just seems that sort of drive to understand. It just runs itself out. Well, you can understand all you want, and then you're up against another brick wall. So it's
but somehow because when there's that sense of being someone, it's that closed loop of knowing.
Yeah,
and it's that closed loop of knowing that really hides that this is it. And some people do understand on an intellectual level what is being suggested here. But if there's that understanding, or it isn't, it has no relevance whatsoever. Because all there is then is still the sense of being someone, and now understands that there is no one. And maybe that attempt of trying to understand for some human beings may slow down, or even collapses, or not.
Well, it can seem to sort of be another crisis in a way, because you sort of, the understanding is like, it's great, I'm going to understand this, and you're busy understanding, and then you get all the concepts, and then it's still, so it can kind of be, oh Jesus, what am I going to do now type of thing. It's a sort of, it's
even very, very frustrating when when there's a certain understanding, and even for some there can be the realization or the recognition that now some things are understood and nothing that happens, so to speak.
Yeah.
Isn't it harmonic?
Yeah, and in a way it seems that the person sort of holds itself back from actually understanding this fully. Because if it understood this fully, not that this is about understanding, but if it fully understood this, it would be over. But it seems to hold itself back from understanding this fully. It seems to veil it from itself so that it can still have some hope of there being understanding left to happen. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I get
Out of the job again.
Exactly. Because if you reach the end, the proper end of understanding, then it's over. So as long as you still have some understanding in your tank to do, then there's still the hope that I will understand this one day. If it's really, for want of a better word, just to play with this word, if it's really understood what we're talking about here, it's the end of understanding.
Yeah.
It's like what Urs shared yesterday. He only wants a bit of freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A bit will be enough.
For the individual, you're always sort of having to leave some leeway, a little bit of leeway, so that there's always tomorrow. I can just come back to it tomorrow. And this is the end of tomorrow.
Yeah, it's probably a similar thing with the shifting, this, so it was the seeking, in a way, it's a similar shifting, and then there was the waiting then, so then, like, it's just always shifting, putting bits of itself out, so it was this sort of energetic waiting then,
Yeah, and then this message becomes the thing.
Yeah.
The concepts, the words, freedom, no one. this becomes the next, or there's still some context to this then, as to why this is happening. There is no message, as Nico said. These are just empty words. We could be talking about flowers. They don't mean anything. There's no such thing as non-duality and freedom. But there'll be a thing of like, well, this is, the me's getting less, there's more openness here, but that doesn't mean anything. There's just what's apparently happening.
There's no agenda here to change anything. That's the freedom as well. Just whatever seems to happen is whatever seems to apparently happen. There's no intention behind this sharing or behind these words in any way. So there's no agenda to this meeting as well. Everything is just already exactly as it is, without an agenda.
Just what you said there, Nico, there's no intention to change anything. That's more or less the same as saying, it's sort of saying all there is what seems to be happening.
But it's just that there is no agenda, is that everything is just exactly as it is. Because the me lives in the world wherever it believes it lives in a world, what is a dreamt reality, but it has an agenda to everything it does.
Yeah.
Everything seems to have a reason why it's doing things. So it's never unconditional in that sense.
Yeah.
So in this meeting has no intention, there is no there's no agenda, there's no purpose, there's no goal. No, this is just what's apparently happening for no reason. So when there's the sense of being someone, then fair enough, that's the report that seems to happen. That doesn't mean it has an actuality, but that's just what seems to apparently happen, the claim that I am someone. And there's no agenda here to overcome that or to change that or whatsoever.
I was just thinking there that what Nico was saying, that there's no agenda. It's funny how that seems to be the most aggravating part of anything that's said at the meeting. It's very, you might call it triggering in a way. It's sort of, because it's obviously directly speaking to this sense of, well, to me, this sort of something saying, well, there is a problem here. Why are you saying? It's actually quite aggravating. It just sort of, it makes sense how it would be aggravating, because it's completely negating the sort of sense that anything has to change. Yeah. That's obviously why it's so, like, it is quite, it can really get your blood pressure, like, it's sort of like, why the fuck did it keep saying that? Of course there's a problem here. It can be so I remember thinking at one meeting, they were going, there's no, and I was going, what the fuck are they? Why do they keep saying that? That's so annoying. Yeah, or I think it was Kenneth was saying it, and I was going like, why do they fucking keep saying that? That's so stupid. Of course there's a problem. Yeah, that's why it's so aggravating, because it's actually cutting the ground out from under you. It's giving you nothing to get your. It's directly nearly confrontational in a way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And even without the intention of doing so.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's the opposite. I love it. Like all these places where you go and people want to help you, and I love it that you don't want to do anything with me.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're just thinking there, actually, what it seems to do sometimes, it kind of reactivates this sort of sense. It's sort of like prodding you somehow.
Yeah.
It reacts to
exposure.
Yeah, like I was like, actually, it's kind of nearly come to me. It's like, why do you have to say that? I was grand until you said that. Now you started aggravating me, and I'm sort of. It sort of activates this part of you that sort of.
Resistance.
There is there is a problem here that has to be fixed now. Sort of, it's like a reactivation of a seeking energy to sort of. Yeah, I think that's yeah.
That's all the individual. All the individual really wants is to have tools and somebody to tell you how to live your life. It's looking constantly for dreamt tools to have a better life, really.
Well, when nothing's given, it just seems to really expose whatever's going on there. Because this, as Nico says sometimes, this isn't feeding that at all. So it seems to just expose how hungry and insatiable that energy really is. How much it's desperately looking for something, anything to hold on to. This throws it back in its face, in a way. It's like a wall, just... But I've said this a few times, because this is like asking a chair a question. Trying to get something out of that chair. It just is. That's all this is saying. It just is. The chair's saying the same thing. In fact, everything is saying this. This is it. The only thing that seems to try and get something out of life is the individual. So it's the ultimate brick wall. And you're just facing yourself then. Like, it would even be more soothing if we turned around and argued with you and tried to prove our point. There's nothing to prove here, which is more frustrating, as you say. Because there's nothing to defend. There's no point of view. We're not saying anything.
It's meaningless.
Yeah, and it's just funny, it just came to, like, how when, just as Nico was saying that, it's the same every time. That seems to be the thing that gets me really aggravated. Like, do you know, like when anyone says it, it just seems to, I don't know, it just seems to, it's like the last hiding place or something. Somehow there's something sort of there, and it's like, because it's the same whenever anyone says it, it's like, oh no, I don't want to hear they're going with that again.
What says that there's no agenda, you mean?
Yeah, well, there's no need to change anything. There's nothing to be fixed or changed. It sort of opens up. I was like, oh no, it's peaceful and quiet until it started saying that. It just seems to activate something. And it doesn't matter who says it.
We were saving the best.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, well, because saying there's no need to change, energetically, all it does is it clearly illuminates that there is a need for something to change there.
Yes.
That's all it's doing. It aggravates the part that feels something has to happen. It's saying nothing has to happen. And it's like you're sat there, well, no, something needs to happen. Something has to happen. I need something to happen. And it's saying nothing has to happen.
It's the same saying as I am not there yet, with different words. Then it just looks like this is not it yet. It still has to be something else. This cannot be it as it is. It's the same with just different wording.
Yeah, in a way it's sort of illuminating the illusory nature of what you think's going on over here. Really, it's just actually saying what you think's going on over here. Yes, it's kind of, right, okay, yeah.
Well, it's illuminating the illusion, thank you, of something needing to happen.
Yeah.
You're sat there convinced, not you, but there's the person sits there convincingly saying, no, but something has to happen for me to see this like you are. You're not hearing me. That's what the person is saying. You're not hearing me. I have a problem over here. I feel like me.
Yeah.
And we're saying, no, you're not hearing me.
Yes,
there is no one there.
Yeah.
This is it. Nothing has to happen. But it's like energetically they're meeting heads. Something has to happen, nothing needs to happen. And it doesn't know what to do with that information because it's an energetic block. It's a brick wall, basically. That the individual, it's the only thing the individual is powerless, or although it's completely powerless anyway, but sees itself to be completely powerless to get through.
Is what?
This brick wall
Yeah.
that I think something has to happen, and we're saying nothing needs to
I
happen.
gotcha.
That is a complete energetic wall. Constantly, actually, you're being met with a brick wall in the meetings and in life. But it clearly is illuminating it there. And that's what's so frustrating, because it's actually illuminating how utterly helpless you are.
Well, it's directly in saying that. It's actually quite directly, like even more directly than sort of saying there's nobody or other things. The fact that it's saying that nothing has to change, it's more directly, it's nearly sort of, it's actually directly sort of addressing in a way this party that, this sort of, well, it's kind of very exposing somehow, it seems, this energetic sense to be someone, or that, I kind of get it now. It's more, it seems more confrontational directly somehow.
Yes, although it's actually saying the same thing, but because the part that feels something has to change is the me. So saying nothing needs to change is saying there's no one. Because the only thing that feels something has to change is the individual. Everything and anything that is going on there is just what's happening.
Yeah, it's funny somehow the saying there's nobody and different things. It seems like a step removed from me. It's not as threatening. It's sort of me saying, okay, so there's nobody. But somehow, I don't know, that sense of that nothing has to change. It seems more directly that it's sort of directly pointing at this something that says it's me here. That's just my sense of it here, anyway. It's aggravating, anyway.
Well, I think it's aggravating as well, because somehow something in you knows that nothing needs to change, but something still wants something to change. So it's like you can't stop this part of yourself that needs something to change, whereas something in there seems to recognize that nothing needs to change, but you can't stop yourself from being yourself.
It's the difference between the longing and the wanting.
Yeah.
questions now. Give us the gossip, will you? Give us a few carrots, will you, when Nick comes away? Give us a few spiritual lollipops. I'll send you through a few Bob and Revelers.
It's recorded. You will hear it later.
Oh, Doris! We know.
Well done, girls, well done.
Yeah, I really feel to say thank you that you came all the way from England or from Dublin.
Yeah. Thank
Berlin.
you, Doris.
And today I really feel good.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. No, thank you for having us. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we've had great fun. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful host, Dora. Wonderful host.
Thank you. It feels even really nice to have you in my own home. Yeah, it's really special.
Wow. Yeah, I love doing the meetings in people's houses. It's great. It's so. I don't think I haven't done a meeting not in someone's house, but I've been to meetings in other places. I just like, there's like an intimacy to it, and it's really friendly and just casual, and yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I am sorry. You can't explain in any way resonance, what is labeled as such as, or what is labeled as resonance. That resonance seems to appear or it doesn't.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah, well, I said to a friend of mine last week, he'd asked me a little about it, and for various reasons. And I just said to him, just listen to one or two. I said, it'll either resonate with you and you'll really keep listening, or you won't. You don't have to do anything about it. Like trying to listen, you'll just either listen or you won't. It seems as simple as that, really. Doesn't it? It either resonates somehow and you come back to it, or you don't. Yeah.
Most human beings seem to be quite fine with what they call life. And some seems to be more sensitive to life and starts to search for what they believe is on a deeper level, for example, and come across this and it resonates or it doesn't. Yeah.
Well, really, it's a pretty in just talking. It's actually very normal, but it is quite strange in many ways in terms of normal conversation that people would have, that the person would have in life. If you come across something like this, a lot of people would be like, what on earth are you talking about? Yeah. But it's because it's energetic. Someone may just watch it and there's just something that lands and it's like, Jesus, this is what I've been not looking for my whole life. But it is a bit like that, in that this is what I've been trying to articulate my whole life. Somewhere in the system it seems to resonate with this. And then for other people it may just be that there's watching of a video and it's like, just it doesn't seem to register really at all, and there's just moving on.
Yeah, well, probably in a way, sometimes it can be. I kind of find that it's even sometimes I'd say to people, maybe about the meeting, it's sort of even just the question of what is this? Like somebody, well, it's just a wall. It's just
exactly. Yeah.
Or it's no. It like actually, like if you think about it, like how the bloody hell is this happening? You know, it's that different, I suppose. It's either it's a chair, or it's just a car, or a body, a person. Yeah.
Well, it is just a chair. Do you know what I mean? Like in the end, it does come back to that, but the curiosity starts with what is this?
It's no longer a real chair.
Yeah, but in the end, it is just normal again, in a way.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
There's a mystery, but it's not in a mystical way. It's just what's apparently happening. I think that's what was amazing for me in many ways. I remember when it all seemed to collapse. There was such a projection of specialness and spiritualness and mysticalness onto everything, which I wasn't really aware of and it was amazing. I remember just sitting and there was just tables and chairs and the kitchen, and it was just everything was as it was. And it is a coming home in that sense to how it always has been. There's just this totally and utterly gorgeous ordinariness. It's just a chair, appearing as a chair. There's nothing special, nothing deeper, nothing mystical. It's just a fucking chair.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. That's what's gorgeous about it, is it's so ordinary.
Yeah.
It's so simple. Yeah, so ordinary. So natural. It doesn't mean anything. It's just as it is.
Without the need, then, obviously without this need to work it out and to, like, who would be there working it out, figuring out on a deeper level what this is?
Well, that is the specialness.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to work out on a deeper level what this is, it implies that this is something special.
Yes.
That needs to be worked out or somehow has layers. This has no layers. It is what it is on the tin. This is it. A room. Appearing as this. It's not special. It's not deep. There's no layers. There's nothing underneath it. It is just a room apparently happening as a room. There's no need to work that out because it just is. And like the ordinariness is the absence of the need to work it out. It's so ordinary. It's so ordinary. That's what's breathtaking about it. That's what's special, is how ordinary it is. It's not because it's special. Like things can finally just be what they are. A floor, a body, a friend, a mug, the room, Berlin. Thoughts. No one's tinkering with them or projecting anything onto them or making them a problem or trying to work them out. It just is what it is. That's freedom.
Yeah, well, it's probably why it's said again and again. It's simple. It's so simple.
Yeah.
It just, and then this thing comes in like, geez, it can't be that simple. But it's obviously so simple.
Too simple.
Well, this is so that there's something else. Like it's going to be some revelation or something, but it's not.
It's not what the me wants. What the me really wants, it wants to be special.
Yeah.
That it's all dreamt reality. That someday I will be special. I will be more special than somebody else.
Yeah.
That's its whole drive, basically.
But what's actually longed for is to be ordinary, or for this to be ordinary. That's what's longed for, is for this not to have to be special. That's the entrapment, is this needing to be special, when it can't just be what it is. Crap, ugly, nice, good, bad, great, horrible, is what it is. That's the beauty. But that seems to come from this apparent end of relationship. Because when there's no longer me and this, or me and that, or me and you, there's just the appearance of that, there's just the appearance of this, there's just the appearance of that. So it's just, everything is then allowed to be what it is. There's no one in relationship to it, interfering with it, projecting onto it, trying to make it into something.
Yeah, and is that a way because there's no something...
There's no subject anymore.
Yeah, there's no something in here trying to make a something out there.
Yes.
Like if I'm not something, there's not a something maker inside making all these...
Yeah, something.
So they just appear, they're just seen as they are.
Yeah.
Everything's just seen as it is then.
When the subject dies, all object dies with it.
Yeah, because there's no subject object happening inside, so it's not projecting out. Yeah.
Well, this, not only does the subject collapses, the subject-object illusory relationship collapses, and then there's just what's happening, which is indescribable. But you realise that I was the one that was... It was my need that was making everything... I was the needy one. I was trying to get everything out of life. That chair was... I had a relationship. It was to do with me. That was to do with me. The room was to do with me. This meeting is to do with me. Everything is to do with me for the individual. And when there's no one, there's just... Well, there is no one. But when this apparent illusion of there being someone dies, there's just the freedom for things to be as they are. No one needs anything from things. And actually, there are no things that can provide you with anything. Everything collapses.
It's all empty. It was a long time ago.
Get me out of here.
No, you have to sit this one out, Urs. You have to bear it until the very end. But there will be a relief soon within...
Now.
within, as in now. So, there's the relief. Did you hear it? Thanks everyone for joining. It's lovely to see you all. And for the end, I would like to thank again Doris. Thanks for hosting this meeting. And for the things you're doing. It's much appreciated. Thank you so much for doing this meeting here. It was lovely. And my love, thanks for coming from Poland to join the meeting. So, thanks again. Sorry.
Oh,
Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.